Let's welcome Kevin and Christy Long with Wildlife Ridge Winery. Please join me in welcoming Kevin and Christy to the stage.
All right. I'm not much about presenting, so I'm going to do the best I can do here. I know how to make wine, but and that's a whole lot more fun than talking to people in my mind. But I'm Kevin Long. This is my wife, Christy. She drew the short straw today, so she gets to help us grow through some of the pictures. And she's got a little bit of a voice issue going on, so you're going to just have to be listening to me instead of listening to her. So Wildlife Ridge Winery was created back in 2013 is when we actually opened in March. We kind of had a dream to do this one day as a retirement deal, and working with the Missouri Grape Association, they convinced us that the wine market was hot and that it was way better to go on and do it if we was going to do it instead of waiting until we was at the retirement age. And I'm glad they did, because it's a lot more work than I want to do when I'm retired. So we don't have a whole lot of free time to have fun anymore, other than having fun with all our guests. So we started building, we built a little 2.5 acre lake that the winery building sets on, and you'll probably see some of that in the pictures here. It's it's out in the country. We're located about 14 miles south of Sedalia at the intersection of Highway V and M in a little town called Boehner. Not sure if, I know Diane knows where Boehner is because she grew up just down the road. So we get a lot of business. Unlike the other presenter, all of our business is Missouri business. We're not nationwide. We're not trying to sell in Texas and Georgia, wherever it may be. Everything that we do is Missouri-wide. And to be real honest, it's really close-knit communities around Sedalia that we thrive on. One of our claims to fame, I guess, is in Pettis County. We are the first and only winery that's ever been in Pettis County. So hopefully that'll go a long ways down the road. When you're driving down the highway and you see a winery sign, it doesn't matter where you're going or if you have a time set to go there, you take time to turn off if you're a wine nut. And you got to go check it out. So again, it draws a lot of attention to the tourism part of it. Overall, it's about a $1.76 billion a year impact for Missouri, which is pretty big. It's a lot bigger than what we ever thought it would really be. When we started looking into it and doing a lot of the studying on it, we had no idea that the wine market was as big as what it really is. It takes a lot to get into it. When you're taking a raw product, agricultural product, and turning it into something somebody consumes, especially when it's alcohol, the federal government is, they probably know more about it, of what we got going, than I know myself. There's lots of reporting that has to be done, lots of licensings. We have a license for just about anything you do. So it's very, very time consuming on paperwork end of it. We're moving a lot of product. The presenter before said the sign was $695. Our wine that we're selling is anywhere from $12 a bottle to $20 a bottle. So we have to move a lot of product to generate the revenue that we're looking for. We started making wine about 8 years ago, I guess, in small amounts, just doing the little 6-gallon carboys. And now we're making around 6,000 gallons a year, which equates to about 30,000 bottles. We started out, when we first started, it was, like I say, we started out making really small amounts, and never forget when we first brought the first bunch of wine home, her father was down at the house, and it was just a couple hundred cases. And he said, "What are you going to do with that?" And I said, "Well, we're going to sell it." And he said, "So how long is that going to last?" And I said, "Hopefully just a couple weeks." And, it's continually grown. Like I say, the support we have around Sedalia and everywhere else is what it's really about. We've expanded our wholesale market out into, we have our wine now at 35 other locations other than just the winery. A lot of local businesses around Sedalia has it. We partnered up with Body Works in Sedalia, so if you go get a spa, you can have a glass of wine while you're there. Several different places. Brad's here from Craft Beer Cellar. We have our wine down there exclusively. So if you're not a craft beer guy or gal, you can go down there and still have some wine. Several local restaurants have it, several different restaurants across Missouri. One of our big accounts is Hy-Vee. We picked those up in the state of Missouri. We haven't got all the stores yet, but we're continually working towards getting in those. There's some other announcements that'll be coming hopefully in the month of January or first part of February that we're going to pick up another large chain store, and it's not Walmart. We really enjoy it. The funnest part about the wine business, unlike a lot of other businesses, is we're really not in competition. Are you in a hurry? Okay. Perfect. I'm killing time here because question and answer part will kill me probably. So we're not in competition with other wineries. We send people to other wineries all the time. So what we say at our winery is, we're selling an experience and wine comes along with it. So if you guys haven't been out to see us, come out and see us. We do lots of different events. Birthday parties, bachelorette parties. We do after business networking parties out there, a lot of different things. So guess it's time for some questions. Angie.
Okay, my favorite is sweet pea.
Uh-huh.
But I want you guys to tell them a little bit about your award-winning Deceitful Red.
Okay. Deceitful Red was created 2 years ago, I guess. It was actually created by Christy. She was sitting around the winery. Kind of the way we came up with a lot of our blends currently is we'd been to 90 Missouri wineries together, and we would buy wine and buy wine and buy wine and bring it home, and then you always have a little bit of wine left in multiple bottles. So we got to mixing it and playing with it, and that's how we came up with a lot of our blends. So she was doing the same thing with a couple of our wines at the winery, and came up with the blend for our Deceitful Red, which won Best Red for People's Choice in the state of Missouri, and also won third at the Governor's Cup. First year we made it, we made about 350 gallon is all, and this year we're on tap to do about 1,000 gallon of that one. So it was a fun deal. So she gets the credit for coming up with the blend. So, anything else? Yes. We actually purchase all our grapes. They all come from Missouri vineyards, with the exception of our Merlot. Our Merlot grape actually comes all the way from Sonoma, California. State of Missouri is. We grow a lot of grapes in the state of Missouri. There's about 425 grape farmers, if you want to call it that, which isn't enough because the wine business in the state of Missouri is continually growing. Back in 1990, there was only 50 wineries in the state of Missouri, and there's 134 today. So they're growing in great leaps and bounds. Again, compared to Napa Valley or California, Napa Valley does about 800 million gallons of wine a year. State of Missouri does less than 5 million gallons. So, but we're still ranked, I think we're number 12 now. We used to be a little bit higher, but I think we're actually number 12 in the state. Back before Prohibition days, in the 1830s, over in Herman, Missouri, is where Stone Hill started. And they was actually producing a lot of wine. They was actually rated second in the United States, little old Herman, Missouri, in wine production. And then Prohibition came along, and when Prohibition came along, there was about 50 wineries in the state. And like I say, Prohibition came along and the government cut out all the alcohol, and they destroyed all the plants and destroyed the wineries and everything. And then it's been a very, very slow start to get back. Obviously, if there was 50 back in the late 1800s, back in, like I said, 1990, there was only 50 again. So it took a long time to get them started again. So there's just a lot of business to do with it. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Now, you said your wine ranged from $12 to $20.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you determine what's a $12 wine and what's a $20 wine? I mean, is her steeple red?
Yeah. No, it's about the processing time. It's kind of like anything else. On a sweet wine, your processing time is usually about 160 days. So you can turn a lot of volume. Like our Norton wine, which is the state grape for Missouri, it takes almost 2 years to make that wine. So when you're sitting on a lot of product, so instead of turning it 4 times a year, you're sitting on it for 2 years before you ever sell the first bottle. So there's really, that's one of the, we was at a big fancy restaurant here a while back, and they had some $100 bottles of wine there, and Christy and I were talking about it, and I said, that $100 bottle of wine didn't cost any more to get the grapes. It just costs a little bit more in time, and they're not really, it doesn't take that long to make a $100 bottle of wine. It's more about the marketing on it. But that's really the ultimate question, is the time it takes to process it.
And the marketing, I've seen these blind tests where people could tell the difference between a $100 bottle of wine and a $12 bottle.
That's correct, yeah. When we won the People's Choice Award for Best Red in Missouri, it was a blind taste test. So nobody knew it was ours. And, we was up against the big guys, the Stone Hills and the Herman Hoffs and everybody else, the St. James wineries.
So do you have to go to California to build relationships with the grape growers out there?
We don't. We've been to California. We went to Temecula a few years ago and toured some of the wineries. And the reason we chose Temecula was because of the small wineries that are in Temecula. You get to Napa and Sonoma, and they're really huge and commercialized. So we chose Temecula so we could kind of relate to the same business owners, the same size of us. Yes, ma'am.
How do you ensure consistency from batch to batch?
It's tough. It takes a lot of testing and tasting. That's my job. Every year grapes are going to be different. They really are. We know the percentages. We know which wine yeast we use in which wine. We use different wine yeast in other wines. Some of them takes a fermentation aid. Some of them don't. So everything that you do to that wine the first time, you remember what you did the next time. On a real hot, dry year, the quality of the grapes are much, much better. Now the quantity is way down, but the quality is going to be a whole lot better than a wet year. The one reason we don't have grapes is because grapes are labor of love. You have to attend grapes every day. The birds can clean you out. The wildlife can clean you out pretty quick. A disease can get you. The bugs can get you. Back this year, I'm sure everybody had the little beetles that were running around your houses everywhere. It was terrible on grapes. One day over at Rocheport, where we get a lot of our grapes, there was no beetles. and the next morning there was millions of them. How they moved in that quick. So, you know, insect and disease can take you out pretty quick if you're not watching it. But there's no good way to keep them. We can keep them really, really close, but you can't keep them exact because from the varietal of each year. Yes, sir, Roy.
Do you market online?
We do. We have a website, which is what you're looking at here. We do a lot of advertising on Facebook, which is really helpful to us. So one of the things that you guys can do for us is like us on Facebook and rate us on Facebook, any of that kind of stuff. I think she's on Twitter, she's on Instagram. She kind of handles all that stuff. We do have a guy that works for us. He handles our marketing stuff and does our website stuff and keeps everything up and fresh. We're in the process. We're going to try to change our website this year some and do some different things. So yeah, we do market. We do a lot of advertising. Yes, ma'am.
What was attractive about the grape market when you got into the business? And then now that you know how much work it is, have you pushed back your retirement, or what's your future plans with the winery?
I would tell you that when we got into it, it's a fun business. You know, alcohol and people drinking are usually fun. You know, all the girls that work for us at the winery all love it because they get to drink and work at the same time. You know, it's very, very seldom you come into the winery and one of the girls behind the tasting bar or ourselves won't have a glass of wine. You know, now obviously you got to sip that. You can't just guzzle it all day long. But a lot of customers want you to have a glass of wine with them when they come in. So meeting the customers and just seeing the different folks that come from everywhere is one of the fun part about the business. As far as future, we would like to produce more of the wine on site. Again, out of the 6,000 gallons, we're only doing about 1,000 gallons actually on site. It's a pretty neat process. We don't have a great big building with all the equipment in it, the bottling lines, the tanks, all that. We actually work with laborers while over at Roachport, and we have our tanks over there, and we use their crusher. That's who my mentor was, the main winemaker over there. So we rent some space over there and use our equipment, so we didn't have to invest $5 million in equipment in a building. So for future, we would like to do more of it on site eventually. As far as retirement, I don't see any retirement in the future.
So obviously, you all sell directly to your customers, so you have kind of this retail player. Then you also have this whole distributor, wholesale market too. What's been your biggest aha moment or the biggest challenge that you faced, or just something, what was your biggest obstacle in balancing all of that?
Probably time. We kind of made a commitment that we was not going to try to flood the market with our wine. When we go to a town, we try to pick, depending on the size of the town, 2 or 3 locations that we want to target in that town. We don't want it at every convenience store, every grocery store, every liquor store, every wine shop. So we're trying to promote their business so they can promote us as well. We can put on our Facebook page or our website, hey, Hy-Vee in Blue Springs is the only place you can get WRW wine in Blue Springs. So that was one of the things that we did. Probably the biggest challenge we have is shipping wine. There is tons of licensing, tons of paperwork that takes a lot of time to be able to ship wine. We have a lot of people ask us to ship wine. We have a lot of customers. It's amazing how many out-of-state customers we get. She has a lady that comes from Illinois every 2 months and buys 2 cases of wine, takes it home with her. We have people from Texas, Georgia, that take our wine. We have people take our wine on cruises, but we can't ship it to them, is our problem, because we don't have a shipping license. And when you go shipping from state to state, and and then you got to have all the different licenses for each state you ship to, because we're not a distributor. We're more of a retailer, manufacturer. So that's the big challenge, is all the paperwork on the licensing. That's what we would really like to grow. We're actually talking to someone that is able to ship lots of wine, and they have the license. So hopefully that maybe will work out here in the near future.
Okay, so I'll ask you a last question. What can we as a community do for you?
I think probably, yeah, I mean, again, I said it earlier, the community is what we're all about right now. A lot of our business is word of mouth. Again, you can like us on Facebook, you can share our websites. We try to keep our events going. We do lots of corporate stuff. We have a bartending service that we use a lot. We do stuff with the chamber all the time, different things. We've worked with WK at their events before. So we have that service as well, that we can bring our employees to you. One of the benefits to that is when we travel, our license travels with us, so the liability is basically on us instead of on the customer that we're going to. So I would say just continue to spread the word. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for a long time, hopefully.